And good morning, everybody. I'm feeling a bit strange today. It's like I only have one head, but I should have two, three. I'm in Zaphod Plus mode. Zaphod Beeblebrox plus an extra head on the other side to balance them out. We have what? We have rich normality. Yes, the infinite improbability drive has wound down. I acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Whadjuk Noongar peoples. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and to Aboriginal elders and peoples from other communities who may be taking part in this live stream today. And believe it or not, this is the second time that I've done the intro because the stream didn't start last time. Remember at the end of the last stream, I had exposed my stream key because I was messing around with the ATEM settings and showing it on screen, and I forgot to change the settings when I set up this stream. So I began the stream and we were here talking to you. And it was not going anywhere.
ASIO probably collected it.
Yeah, that's right. ASIO, I've got that along with backups of all my passwords and things. So Chip and Emmy are in the house. Chip is there. There? Where's Emmy? There. Everything is reversed. Somewhere. Yes, as is semi-normal for barbecue type days. You are officially weird, says Gavin. Thank you. I do my best. I work at it. Full bit rate and multiple heads, says Michael. Okay, so who is here? Ray. Good morning, Ray. Michael, Keith H. No, you weren't just in time. You were here 15 minutes early. David and who else? Luminator is here. Johan, Brendan. Brendan is going to come along to the barbecue, it looks like, which is pretty cool. Mitchell, Delane, Amanda is here. Yeah, Amanda says, good morning, keep cool, hydrated, it's going to be a hot day down under. I think it's going to be just a nice day here in Melbourne. Yeah, it's going to be 20 or just over 20 here, which is perfect. I don't like it being much hotter than that.
About 65 Fahrenheit, I think.
Farren bushel furlongs. I don't understand those units. Ray said, was watching Strange Parts this evening. He has a tour of World Semi's factory making the addressable LEDs. That's pretty cool. I'd like to see the World Semi factory. Who else is here? Steve the Squirrel is here, of course. Stephen is here, who will also be coming to the barbecue, which is great. Andy Dix is here. Paul Gray, Austin, Mike is here. Okay. So, today, I was just saying this to Chip and Emmy a little bit before the stream started. My anxiety level is a bit higher than usual today, and it's the best way that I can explain it is that even though I have done, how many live streams have I done? I've done hundreds of live streams, like many hundreds of hours of live streams, and still every time before I do one, I have this feeling that I am about to go into a job interview or an exam or something. Like it feels like I'm back in school and I'm about to go to an exam, and then I suddenly realize, this is the feeling. This is the dream that I've had a few times. I have, even fairly in recent years, I've had this dream / nightmare where I am in the quadrangle back at St. Michael's Grammar School.
I remember it well.
Yeah, Chip remembers it. And I went up the steps in the corner. So down, as you went into the quadrangle, immediately to your left was the entrance to the main office, the headmaster and the deputy headmaster's office. And there were some steps that would take you up onto the second level. I remember being in this dream. I was fully grown, so like adult age, but I was somehow back at school, went up the steps to the second level, and a teacher walked past and said, "Are you ready for the exam?" And it was for a subject that I hadn't been to any of the classes. I had just walked in and I was totally unprepared and about to do the exam. So
you would have aced it.
No, hardly. So that is like the gut-sinking feeling that I get.
Feeling imposter syndrome, John. You're not an imposter.
I know. It's imposter syndrome, and that gets accentuated a little bit when there are barbecues, because I think it ties into this whole feeling. As Chip said, very much. It's imposter syndrome related.
Performance anxiety as well.
Performance anxiety. It's a feeling of being judged or assessed. Judged, I think, is too strong a word. It's more a matter of being assessed, having someone putting focus on me or putting attention on me, and I don't like it. Despite the fact that I choose to sit here in front of a camera and do a live stream. I don't really
like living on the ragged edge, John.
yeah, it's the need for dopamine. The ADHD ride. Yeah. Gavin says, I'd be more worried if I was an acrobat in a circus working without a net, and I didn't feel worried about it. Yeah. Yes. Oh, hang on. The thing Imi wanted to say didn't happen. Moo. What did I miss? Says Sion. All we missed was me talking about my current mental state. And hang on. How do we make Imi's message come up? Well, firstly, I can make her a moderator, I believe. But I don't think that will retrospectively change anything.
Copied it.
Okay, here it comes. Let's see if the message comes through. We haven't had a message through on the text-to-speech yet.
Imogen Ann said we have reached normality. I repeat, we have reached normality.
That's it. That's the Zaphod reference. The infinite improbability drive has now turned off.
It was Trillian.
It was Trillian that said it, yes. The callback to the Zaphod from earlier.
We've re-watched the original series of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and listened to a lot of the podcasts of the...
I don't know how well it's going to pick you up on the mic I'm wearing.
We've listened to a lot of the podcasts of the...
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Well, all of the various books, which
Yeah.
I never actually got around to reading when I was a
Yeah.
kid. I only
Then
read
there
the
was-
Hitchhikers.
I don't remember the order, except that Hitchhiker's was first. There was Restaurant at the End of the Universe.
So long, thanks for all the fish.
Oh, So Long, Thanks for All the Fish. I think
And
that was the
Mostly
third,
Harmless
wasn't it?
was one of the...
Oh, Mostly
I
Harmless?
think was either a name of a book or at least one of the podcast things that we listened
Yeah.
to. We're just near the end of that, but
Okay.
some of it gets far more bizarre than we had anticipated it. So yeah, it's a bit of a ride, somewhat 30 years after the fact.
Gavin just said time for a warm cup of tea. Emmy made me a coffee just before the stream. So hey, cheers, everybody. Bottoms up.
That must be my cue.
Anyway,
So what are we actually going to be here talking about
the
today,
point.
John?
Of course, we're now 13 minutes in minus the delay because I
Hello,
screwed up the intro. Yeah, Sion says hi.
Yeah, it's hard for me to read from that. That's why I'm
Okay, so based on a request from last week, someone, I can't remember who, but someone in the chat asked if we could do a tour of the lab. And it was getting towards the end of the stream and I wasn't really set up for it. And also everything was even more of a mess than usual. But I figured that what I would do is actually plan to do a tour of the lab today. So we've got a camera on the tripod. I have my trusty assistant here to carry the camera around and we can show you around. So I think this might even be one of the factors contributing to my anxiety, because it's the it's adding to the whole being assessed.
There's more that
feeling.
can go wrong, perhaps, John.
Yeah, there's more that can go wrong, and also, well, there's more that can go wrong, but also it is specifically an examination. It is showing people around and letting them look at the space that I've created, and they're inevitably going to think, oh yeah, that I like that, or I don't like that, or they're gonna, it's basic. The whole thing is an assessment. A tour is an assessment.
But on the other side of the coin, the reason you want to show people is because you've got things that you're proud of that you need to show.
Yes.
So it's kind of a corollary.
Yes, it is. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go for a little bit of a walk around and explain things and try to take my time, because the temptation is to just rush through this, and in my head I think I could show you around in 5 minutes and be done, and then we'll get on with things for the rest of the stream. Reality is it's going to take a while, and I need to deliberately go slowly. So I'm not going to be able to see the chat, but maybe Imi can sit here and watch my screen. In fact, what I'll do is
squawk if anything serious comes up.
Yeah,
I can bring my phone along.
I'm going to zoomify. Yeah, you can bring your phone along. Also, I've got the chat here zoomed way in now to make it a bit easier to read.
Let's activate that camera. John, what do we need to do that?
Oh, see, on said that's exactly why I've not had a get together here yet. Scared of judgment. Yeah, it's Michael says, "Get it right, John, or listen to Vogon poetry." No.
Hoopsiously gurgled.
Okay, so to switch to the other camera, I just need to... Oh, Keith said, are you able to answer questions when you're in there? Yes. So that's my plan. What I...
We'll need to relay them, so there'll be a bit delayed.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to be sort of wandering around and showing you things, and if you have questions, chuck them in the chat, and Imi can call them out if I can't see them. So let's see if I change to this view. Is it going to work?
That camera's gone to sleep.
That camera's gone to sleep? Okay.
What do I need to do to wake it?
Let's just touch the screen and see if that wakes it up. Does it? Doesn't it? No. Okay, hang on.
We're transmitting darkness.
Yeah, we're transmitting darkness at the moment. I think I might just need to unlock it.
We must be in
Let's
the
see.
underbelly of the Vogon ship.
Hang on. Unlock. Come on. Yes, now we've got the camera unlocked. Cool. Okay. Working? Yes, working. And
Perhaps,
so...
do you want to put the microphone on?
What we'll do is maybe... Yeah, well, Chip can pick up the camera and we'll go for a little walk. So what we'll do is start at the entrance. I've got no idea what the camera can see. So anyway, it seems a bit silly starting at the front door, but it kind of makes sense. This is the front door area. And what I've tried to do is divide the whole workspace into a number of different zones. This whole front section here, this room, is the lab that I work in most of the time. No, it'll still be okay. It blanks the screen. Yeah, just if you touch the screen, it'll wake it up. It's actually sending video, you just can't see it on there. I don't know why it keeps going to sleep.
Mitchell R. said, welcome to my shop of boxes.
Welcome to my shop of boxes.
It's a pretty cool shop of boxes.
Yeah. And I've tried to divide this space into two main areas. So there's this front area with a bench here. I want to have somewhere that I can have people come in, like have clients come in and sit down and show things here, discuss things here. Which is what this is for. Oh look, it's a table and chairs. How exciting.
Gavin said, a strange place to have a washing machine in this property. And Paul Gray said, I have those same shelves.
I think many people have these shelves.
Talking about that washing machine.
Yes, we'll get to the washing machine in a moment. So over here, I've got a quilt that was made many years ago, and this was made for LinuxConf, the big open source conference, one year. I can't remember what year, 2007 or something. And it was taken around and signed by all of the speakers at the event, and then it was presented to me at the end of the conference, which was really cool. So I've got that there as a reminder of the community, I suppose. And over here, in here, I've also got a little kitchen area. I've got PCBs and memorial stuff on the wall. There's some stuff from Nick and Chris Fryer that many of you would know, kids stuff, just random PCBs of all sorts of different projects. And the idea is that what I want to be able to do is switch modes in here to work on different projects depending on what's going on at the time. So my goal is to move a whole lot of things onto trolleys. So I don't know if you can see it all that well, but right now there's a trolley here which has a whole lot of stuff related to the T-Rex water cannon project. So this is one of the water cannons and a whole lot of boards and test systems and things like that. And it's all on wheels. So the idea is I want to be able to wheel in a complete set of stuff and have it up next to my desk so that I can work on a project and basically do a context switch, which is physically changing the environment. So if I'm not working on something, it should be rolled out and out of the way. And when I'm working on it, bring it in and it will be right here. At the moment, I've got this washing machine here, which is not on wheels, so I can't move it. This is for a project I've been working on for a while for integrating with payment systems with washing machines that are used in laundromats. So it's a commercial washing machine that has a control interface in it, and I've designed several boards that integrate with the machine and allow you to do things like query the state of the machine, how much time is running, how much money it needs, all that sort of stuff, and then send payment to it. So it's a payment integration project.
Got a couple more comments.
Yeah.
Stephen W says, John sells boxes and box-related accessories. And
box
Keith
shop.
says, John likes to keep a close eye on his washing.
Yeah, I've got to have it right here.
Yep.
Yeah, but the idea is that in terms of workspace, I want to have it set up so that I've got computer here, workbench on my right, and then project on the left. So whatever I'm working on at the time can be sitting right here in arm's reach, but I also have the computer so that I can be sitting here and basically turn left or turn right, and everything is right there. So my main workbench area is, it just flows on from the computer. So what I can do is have boards sitting on the bench here and be working on code on the computer and electronics here.
Just wired like your brain.
Yeah, kind of. So microscope right there. This is all a big mess, as you can see, but I've tried to put the equipment that I use every day right here. There's a face camera here which is not even turned on right now. You can, if you point the camera up, you'll see that there is the down camera. So this is the camera that looks straight down on the bench. So when I'm doing an overhead view, this is the camera that's used, and it's on a slide so that I can push it in or out. So I can push it out to get it out of the way, or slide it out and then get a view straight down onto the bench. And the microscope has its camera as well. This is the new camera that just arrived. One of the things I want to do is rearrange this section a little bit. I'm going to get rid of the Uni-T multimeter and replace it with this O1 meter, which will go into another section in here. So this is going to be replaced. All of this will move to the right. This will go in here to replace the signal generator, because the SigGen I use sometimes, but not very often. Multimeter I use every day. Signal generator might use every couple of months for a specific thing.
Got a few more comments.
Yeah.
Stephen W says, I went through a property recently where they had a second washing machine in the bathroom right beside the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Wise says, washing machine with a Mica card reader.
Yeah, that basically is what it is.
That's
Almost.
pretty funny. Ray Byrne says, looks like a normal work/development area to me. If there's no mess, you're not working right.
Yep. Yeah, the classic thing, when there's always stuff pushed to the back of the bench. Like there are boards sitting here because I've just shoved them back to get them out of the way instead of putting them away properly when I should have put them away properly.
Oh my goodness, you should see my work area.
And then there is a second workspace here. The idea here is that it's a replica of this part, but it's not fully set up. So we've got the computer and then electronics area. Same thing here, computer, electronics area. And this is where my son Tom works. He does board assembly for me. And so this stuff is more assembly focused rather than prototyping focused. So it's got parts and things all along here which are all categorized. for example, regulators. It's got a whole lot of voltage regulators in there, all in anti-static bags with labels on them with DigiKey part numbers and links and things. And oh, hang on, let's see if you can see this. Oh, and on the bottom of each of the bags, it's got the name of the section or the category that it goes in, so that when you're done with using parts, you just go regulators, back in the regulators box. You don't have to think about where things go. And each of these matches an Eagle library. So all of my parts in all of my designs are classified by these different categories, just to group things together. So on this one, it's got regulators, mount up.
WIVM says, cool to have a look behind the scenes.
Cool.
There's quite a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, we're still just in this little front area.
Do you want to take a break and get back to the stream and then come back and do more of this, or do you want to
Nah,
keep doing this?
we'll keep doing this. And also up here is my main 3D printer. So I've got another 3D printer which you might see, it's in the other room. But this is the one that I use just as my go-to printer. And there's an older 3D printer up the top there, the old classic, the MakerBot Cupcake. And what else? Oh, actually one little thing. This is not really a lab tour thing, but I just saw it, so this is part of the process of the way I work.
Mitchell R. said if your desk isn't messy, then you aren't a real engineer. And if it's tidy messy, you're a fake lol.
Yeah,
I'm a fake.
Hot tip for all those neurodivergent folks. This is how it works. Label everything, and
Label.
everything
Yes.
you see.
Yes.
Need
It's
to see what you're working with.
Labels are a coping mechanism.
Or end up just broken like me.
So I've got these orange notebooks. These are left over from my software company, and I've got boxes of them. So they were basically left over and going to be trashed.
90s, don't they?
They do look very 90s. And so what I do is use these as lab notebooks, and I do a different lab notebook for every project, and then I leave the notebook with the project. So what can I do? Is it in there? Okay, so just as an example, super button, this project here. If I pull this out, this is a project that I was working on with Chris. It's got a notebook in here, which is labeled for that, and then it's got all of like diagrams and notes and things. So pinouts.
James O'Gorman says notebooks can be prizes for viewers. Smiley face.
Prizes for viewers. It's not much of a prize, but the idea is that if I'm writing, even if it's just like quick throwaway things, like I'm wiring up a connector, and I'm thinking about, okay, this connector is oriented like this, and I'm putting these wires on it, and what are the colors? If I come back to this project 2 years later, I'm not going to remember what anything is. But and a lot of the time, those sorts of notes we just do on scraps of paper or post-it notes and throw it away, and you can't find it again years later. So as much as I can, I don't use throwaway notes. I use notes that are then stored in context with whatever I'm working on. So in this case, if I come back to this project, I can grab this notebook, and it's got all dated, the whole history of all of the diagrams and notes and things I did along the way.
Does not mean it's tidy or not messy lol. It is just organized chaos.
Organized chaos, that's right.
Michael Wires said label everything and put everything in the wrong box.
Yes,
Well,
labels
say,
mean
you know,
nothing if it's not in the right place.
These notebooks won't end up on the merch page because they're being used.
Yeah,
You'd end up doxing yourself probably.
probably.
Another hot neurodivergent tip, don't get rid of any of your notebooks.
No. And because I've got boxes of these notebooks, whenever I start a new project, I basically just grab a notebook, print a label, stick it on the front of it, make a box for the project, and put it in there. So each project starts with a place to store all of the things related to that project, all of the notes related to it, and it all gets encapsulated like that so that it's in one place and I can find it again later. In theory. because otherwise I wouldn't find anything. There's another water cannon. It's one of the previous prototypes. And yeah, so this little space, I suppose, a few square meters, it's probably like 9 square meters, give or take, is where I spend the vast majority of my time. It's the computer, the workbench, and the parts and things that are all around here. Even though the factory space I'm using is a lot bigger than that, the way I think of it is it's a little bit like a dartboard where the center, the bullseye, is where you work. It's the center of everything that you do. And then as you go further out through the concentric rings, there are things that are less immediately important. So it's a matter of prioritizing what is in arm's reach versus what do you have to stand up and walk down into another room to get. The things that you use every 10 minutes versus the things that you use every few months.
I remember you describing that philosophy at the old lab at the super house.
Yeah.
And I really like that whole philosophy. It makes a lot of sense. And I think we all do that to some degree, but to specifically spell it out like that.
Yes. Yeah, and to do it consciously rather than just let it happen organically. That's one of the reasons that I'm also thinking about reorganizing this, because it's very much a case of this is a signal generator, which I use a couple of times a year, and it sits right here. Like, this is the prime position.
Prime real
It's taking
estate.
up space that would be better served by a multimeter that I use multiple times per day. So
Whatever happened to the UT61E?
oh, I still
yes.
still use it. This is my primary multimeter. I use this all the
We
time.
don't see the display on the stream
No,
as was
it's
originally planned.
currently publishing to the wrong MQTT broker, so I need to fix that. Okay.
Couple more comments.
Yes.
Pazzy Bob says, cable management, lol. Morning, by the way.
Oh yeah, you can see all the cables under there. Yes.
I was trying not to
Ethernet
zoom
cables
in on
hanging
those.
underneath.
And Gavin says, once worked for a boss who was obsessed with black folders and decreed to all staff that the Yellow Pages phone books must be placed in a black folder. Then the folder was labelled Yellow Pages with a black and white label.
Yellow label.
No, must be black.
Must be black. Okay, so
Note the red light in the background.
yes, I'll close this.
Green.
It goes green. Okay. Now, what I've tried to do with this is have everything that's in this room, so in the cleanish room, I want it to be visible. And where I normally sit at my desk that you just saw, if I just turn slightly to my left, I can see straight through this big glass wall to all of the stuff that's going on in there. So this is the cleanish room. We'll go and check this out. Still work in progress, but it is progressed enough that it is a really good functional space. And we use this just about every day. This first pick and place machine is the one that is in production. And normally these days, Tom is the one who runs it. The really nice thing about having him able to do everything, so he runs open P&P on it and puts the solder paste on the boards, runs them through, runs jobs, adds all of the hand added parts. And then actually one thing we need to keep an eye on is just to make sure that that doesn't totally go to sleep and we lose video. And yeah, so he then puts stuff through the reflow oven and we get complete boards out the other end. So it's been really good having him working on that. So this machine is in production now.
It says, can you add sound effects to your doors like in Hitchhikers?
Yeah, I need to make the door complain every time it opens. I have an entire AI dedicated to opening and closing a door.
We'll let you know if we lose video.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, a Chip will keep an eye on it too. So there are always little niggly things that are annoying about it. And so I've got these error notes here. This is like a, I don't know, like a Kanban board or something of things that need to be done. And I've got a note on here that, for example, it says 220 microfarad is not advancing. And yeah, AP, yeah, not advancing. So there are a couple of feeders that have got problems. So whenever something goes wrong, I just write a note, stick it on there, and then I can come back and resolve those issues. What else is there interesting to see in here? And I've shown the machines before. It's not even turned on right now, which is why the lights are off. I will turn it on. People who come to the barbecue are probably going to want to see it anyway.
Atomic batteries to power.
There's an IP camera in here, which is just in there, just a security camera. Sion was asking about cameras, the camera that I had in my machine previously. It's just a basic Reolink security camera stuck in there on a piece of wood, and that is going to the network video recorder, and one of the monitors up on the wall is showing the showing all of the cameras. Yeah, but don't show it just yet because there is a list of customers. I'm going to turn that one off. Okay, now you can show it. Yeah, there are three screens up there. Normally on this one there is a list of orders for Superhouse and Freetronics, including customer names, the order value, the date.
Your point of view there, you can see it.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's the secret squirrel stuff up there.
Sits at his point of view, so he's got his displays.
yeah. So normally I'm sitting there, and then I can just look to my left and see through the glass wall and see these monitors, and that camera is the view inside the pick and place machine. So I can sit at my desk and I can actually drive the machine remotely as well, because I've got screen sharing set up on the computer that runs the machine. So I can sit at my desk, screen share to OpenPNP on the pick and place machine, and drive it and see all of the internal cameras. So it's got vertical cameras up and down, and I can also see the view just inside the machine, see the gantry moving around, etc.
Dodgy Brothers Engineering says, need the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy door sign.
Oh, the door sign?
The door sign.
I don't remember the sign. What was
Side.
that?
Door sign?
Yeah,
Door
Oh, the
sign.
side. Yeah, that.
Sorry, misread.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So we have 3 pick and place machines here. That one is in full production. This one, just this week, we have just started getting ready to bring it into production. So it's got no feeders or anything in it at the moment. The next step is we've got to give it a good clean. So wipe it all down with the alcohol wipes and make sure all of the slides are lubricated, etc. Get it all into a good clean starting point. And then we're going to install a new camera in it and set up a computer with OpenPNP. And of course I need an OpenKO controller to drive that. So that one is going to be coming into production soon. Precarious.
Mr. Fix-It's just dropped in the chat and said he was watching last week's live and lost track of time. Now he's catching up at 1.7 speed.
Okay, I will speak really slowly.
Because we often listen to
Yeah,
podcast at 1.5 or
yeah. So normal human speed sounds very slow motion to you.
They sound drunk, pretty much. It's so weird.
I don't even drink and I sound drunk.
When we watch Electric Viking, if he's at one speed, he seriously sounds slow because a lot of the time it's 1.75, just a lot of catching up. He's always making 6 videos a day and we can never watch them all.
Too much content. Yeah, so this is the third machine, which is so far totally unmodified. This is set up with the original, all of the original KO hardware in it. And for now, at least, I'm going to leave this one unmodified. I couldn't hear what that one's saying. And
I'll read it out for you.
then,
Phil.
okay, Emmy will read it out.
Brenda
swap
Owens
sides.
says, this tour has inspired me to get my office space more organised like your space.
Oh.
Working on it now while listening to the live stream. Smiley
Awesome.
face.
Inspiration.
Yes.
And
Good-
this
good
is
stuff.
the $300 reflow oven, which is I think it's now 33 years old. So this is the Bernie Boy, which came from a Facebook ad. Someone said that they had a reflow oven, like broken, and just wanted to get rid of it. I think it was listed maybe it was $200. I have a feeling it was $200. I can't remember. So Steve and I went down and picked it up and stuck it on the back of his trailer with the crane on his trailer and brought it back here because it is surprisingly heavy. It weighs more than you think it would. And so I did some diagnostics on it and found out that it had been, someone had rewired it in the past, probably like 20 years ago, and screwed it up. They'd converted it from a 3-phase oven to a single phase and messed it up. So I ended up undoing all of the modified wiring and reverted it back to its 3-phase setup and got it all working again. So is it plugged in? Yes, it is. And so we've got 3-phase coming in at the moment over the top, and this is just the fume extraction hood that goes out. At the moment that just vents up the top, and you'll probably see that in a little bit if we go for a walk up there. Ultimately that needs to be taken across to the main extraction that pulls fumes out of the factory. Other things, over the back here is the old pick and place machine. So this is Mick will Make It, the one that I used for many, many years. Homemade pick and place machine with 3D printed feeders and lots of 3D printed parts. A lot of the structure is 3D printed. This backing plate was done on my little baby CNC machine, as you can see, made out of an old piece of a Mac. That was a Power Mac G4 enclosure, I think. So I just used a piece of the panel from that. And yeah, we don't run this at all anymore. Now that the KO is in such good working order, I never need to use this. So it just, at the moment, it's just sitting there, and then every now and then I'll discover that I need a reel from it and pull it off and stick it in a feeder in the KO. So I actually don't really know what to do with this. I don't want to get rid of it because it's too sentimental.
It's part of the museum.
It is.
Yeah.
It's part of the history.
Real storage.
Yeah. Along here, feeders just sitting there waiting to be set up, and boards that have been assembled. So Sam, if you're watching, I don't know if you are, Sam is one of my clients. These are some boards that we've been assembling for Sam. So these go into security cameras that are installed on building sites to catch people stealing building materials and tools and that sort of stuff. Those are the control boards that go into them. And
Yeah, Mitchell said wall mount it.
wall mount the pick and place machine. I wonder if I could do it. No, I couldn't really do it vertically. That wouldn't work. At the moment, I just have all of this stuff stuck in here for storage, but this is not its ultimate location. One of the next stages that I need to do is put a bench in along this wall, basically running the entire length of this wall, because we need more assembly space. Now that I've got Tom doing assembly and Tyra is also now doing assembly, we have run out of space out the front, and I'm probably going to need another person as well. So what I'm going to do is get something like kitchen cabinets, put them along this wall with kitchen bench. So this will be like an assembly bench. And so boards will go into the far end of the production line, work their way along, get down to reflow, go through reflow, and then come along back to this bench for things like hand soldered connectors to be added onto it.
Do you remember, John, when we were drawing this space?
Mm-hmm.
It was just in our heads.
Yes.
Struggling with the size and the free space.
Mm.
It's worked out very, very well. It feels roomy,
Mm.
and you've got the room to be able to consider like a bench, which will take up some of that room, but still function.
I don't know if people can hear you well because you're a fair way from the microphone.
Imogen's mic was pointing towards me, but with this thing outcropping here, I suppose there's going to be restricted room. But
Yes.
But it could still function.
Yes. And there is a way to improve that as well.
Mm.
So that's a very good point. I will talk about that in a second. So we'll loop back around and then I'll show the width issues when we can see it from the end.
Few more comments as
Yeah.
well. Sorry to interrupt.
Go for it.
Mitchell says need a volume increase and speakers in the clean room. so we can hear.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Alistair says nice find, and also suggested moving it to the hackers space. Stephen W says turn it into wall art. Michael Wise says we're going to need a bigger boat. And Dodgy Brothers Engineering says, is it safe to be spending a lot of time in there with the fumes?
That's a very good point. So the fume extraction works quite well. So the reflow oven, if the fume extraction is not running, definitely generates a lot of fumes. But with the extraction running, you can't smell it. So I think it's fine. And also what I'm going to be doing is blowing filtered air into here as well. But we haven't got to that point yet. So right now, this is mostly just storage and things that won't ultimately be here. But this part of it is closer to what the final arrangement will be. And you can see I've got sticky notes here because what I was doing was trying to figure out where different things should be on the shelves, where the different work areas would be. So I made up labels and then put them on where I thought, and then made adjustments, moved things around. So my original idea didn't seem to make much sense. So I basically just peeled the labels off, moved them around, and thought, okay, I'll put stencils here, I'll put PCBs here, I'll put other stuff down there. And I could do a conceptual rearrangement just by moving a few post-it notes around until it seemed to make sense. So because this end is near the start of the production line, this is where solder paste will need to be applied to bare boards. The workbench will come up to here. And what I expect is that this part of the workbench will be related to the very beginning of the production process. So I've got here some PCBs for different clients. I've got stencils, and at the moment I've got it arranged so that the current stencils are here, and then obsolete stencils are here. Sometimes we still need obsolete stencils, like if a client wants an older version of a board made, and I can't really bring myself to throw them out for now, at least. Maybe once they get to be a certain age, then it's not worth keeping them. But for now, I've got previous versions of all of the stencils stored here, current versions here. And the reason for that distinction is I want it to be totally unambiguous what is the most recent. And the idea is that all of the boards that are in this section will be only current versions of boards. And then obsolete boards I'll also hang on to, because once again there are times where we might have, say, a version 4 of a board and a version 4.1, and there may be a reason that we need to make up a 4.0 board still. So we'll still have the stencil here, we'll still have the bare boards. But what I don't want is a situation where a client says, okay, can you make me 20 of these boards? You go along and you pick them up and you haven't got the latest thing. It needs to be clear what is the current production version versus what is an obsolete version. So the thing is, this area, only current production versions. Old versions of things would be archived and stored separately, but still available if necessary. And down here, you can see all of these parts drawers that were on the wall in my old workspace. They are going to be going on a wall that I have to build in the new workspace to replace those shelves with all the boxes on them that we were looking at earlier.
Did you want to look at the, I mean, you've covered the air compressor, etc. before, but
yeah,
there's lots of interesting things to look at down there.
Yeah, so you can see there the blue cylinder, that is an air receiver, which is, it's actually a converted fire extinguisher, because fire extinguishers are rated to a much higher pressure than is necessary for these machines. This is running at about 6.5 bar, I think. Air compressors are, fire extinguishers are rated much higher than that. So this is the compressed air hose coming in. The compressor itself is off separately in a box out of the way so that we don't have to listen to the noise all the time. So compressed air comes in here, air receiver, which gives it a local supply to deal with the bursty requirements of things like firing feeders. And there's a whole lot of junk sitting on the floor, which you should not look at.
We have a couple more comments.
Yes.
Alistair says, I'm running Zigbee VOC sensors in my workshop for when I'm laser cutting. Cheap way to know if the air is safe.
That's a great idea.
And then he said, "What, you moved the parts drawer without spilling everything?" And Mitchell
Yes.
says, "Think it was a work of magic."
Snap my fingers. Yeah, so we were talking about space earlier. Originally, in the plan that we were doing on the computer, I had shelves on this wall, or I might have had like freestanding racks going all the way down here for storage. And I think I had a cart and various other things. But my plan had been to make this room slightly wider. And if you look at where this alcove is, that is the width that I had wanted it originally. That's approximately on the center line of the factory.
It's also an extension of that other wall.
Yes, that's right. And that other wall is on the center line of the factory. But the problem was that building this structure out of all of this Dexian pallet racking, this length of beam was basically the longest that I could practically get. This is quite a long span for Dexian. It's pushing the limit of what's commonly available.
3.5 meters or something.
I can't remember. Yeah, it's 3.8, I think, or 3.7, something in that region. And I do have some third-party beams, which are 4.2 or 4.4 meters long, but these are, I think, pretty much the longest you can get in genuine Dexian. So I've lost a little bit of width, and that means that I can't practically put storage along this wall and then still have workspace down here. So what that means is that because I'm no longer going to have anything on this wall, these machines are all going to move this way.
Can you cut into the wall and put storage space
On the
wall?
other side? Not easily, because the Dexian racks are directly behind this. These are mounted on the Dexian rack.
You've made it look so neat that
You can't tell.
Think of what's behind it.
Yeah, there's structure behind it. Yeah, so you can see that these feeders stick out a long way. This is the face line of the machine, and then the feeders hang right out. These are 8mm feeders, which is basically the smallest size that you get. And apart from custom little reels, this is a standard small size reel. So this is the minimum that it's going to protrude. But that's with the Yamaha CL style feeders. And I want to move to electric feeders on this machine, which will be a lot shorter, and the reels will end up sitting lower down and much closer, to the extent that it almost won't protrude out of the machine at all. So I'm going to gain probably 250 mil of width by doing that, which means that, and you can see that this is quite a generous walk area here. So I can move these machines significantly in this direction, and that will then clear up more space on the other side, so that when there is a workbench down there, you can be sitting on a chair and then still have someone walk behind the chair between you and the machine. So I think that'll make it quite a usable space down that wall.
But 40 or 50 millimetres of extra space can be a huge psychological advantage.
Yes, it can.
We also
Yeah.
have Henrik Holtberg says hi from Denmark.
Hey, Denmark.
045. Dodgy Brothers says you could probably move that 2 feet / 600 mils.
Probably.
Millimeters. Yeah.
Yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of space here right now, and if these feeders get narrower, there is going to be even more. One thing I do want to allow for is bringing a trolley down here, potentially, because one of the dangers is moving boards on trays. We're constantly carrying things around in our hands, and there is the danger of dropping stuff. Like if you overbalance it just slightly, once it starts to go, you can end up dumping a whole lot of boards on the ground. And I want to move towards things like trolleys for moving stuff. So batch up a whole lot of boards, move them all in one go. So I just need to allow enough width for that as well. Even better would be robotic trolleys.
I was going to say,
That's the goal.
Get that delivery system that Macca's
Yeah.
has, where they just put the bag in the thing and it goes.
Yeah,
The little Zumbas running around cleaning the floor as they go. As
yeah,
well.
that's right. Yeah, oh, there's a robot vacuum over in the corner there.
Stand on them when you want to go somewhere.
Yeah, the thing to do would be to have square trolleys so that they are the same dimensions in both directions, and a little robot that drives under it and engages with it, ideally with omni wheels, so it can drive in any direction, and then you could have them slot in next to each other and then disengage and move and grab another trolley. Anyway, big project. That's something dodgy. You got to work on that once you've finished your mowing project. Okay, so anything else we want to see in here?
Ready to go upstairs. I
Yeah, probably the only other interesting thing is that there is the rack here, which came from my friend Andy. He had this in storage in his garage for years and years. So this rack, look, it's a little grey, very average looking thing. It is actually a rack from a Cray, I think it was a J90 model supercomputer that was being used at Bureau of Meteorology for weather modelling.
Dad used to work in those days.
Yeah, probably ran data on the computer running in this rack. So this was one of the I/O racks. It's been mostly gutted, and Andy still has some of the circuit boards that were in the original supercomputer, but they're not in a running state at the moment. And a little while ago, actually, he had a thing, I might be getting all the details screwed up, but someone in Europe was trying to resurrect a Cray supercomputer and they didn't have the original operating system. And Andy happened to have the disks.
Cray OS.
Yeah, I think it's called Cray OS.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it.
Yeah. And Andy had the disk packs from, I think it was the J90 supercomputer. And he contributed those to the project, and they ended up resurrecting the operating system and getting the computer running. Unfortunately, the door opens the wrong way. No, that's okay. Oh yeah, okay, you can look through the glass. Unfortunately, the door opens the wrong way, which really sucks when I want to get in there, because what I have to do is spin the door open, all the way open, and then come in from here. At the moment, it's just basic rack networking gear. Some Raspberry Pis hanging there. You can see the Synology NAS. There's video distribution. This is all going to be mounted nicely. But at least everything is in one place there. So that's a start.
You have a few more comments?
Yes.
So Dodgy Brothers says, what about some kind of belt system mounted to the wall?
A belt system for moving things.
Yeah, I think. Alistair says, is it
I want a
really-
train.
A train?
Like an O-gauge train with flatbed
Yes.
cars, yeah.
You, Malcolm.
Yeah, just like Malcolm.
Alistair says, is it really worth all this yak shaving versus DHLing boards or DHLing the boards from China?
That's a very good point. So this, so Alistair asked that question.
Yep.
This comes down to whether I should be doing this at all. And
It's a very fundamental.
it is a very fundamental question. And there are a few answers to it. Firstly, yes, because I want to. That's the really flippant answer. It's because this is just cool. I like playing with this stuff. It's an interesting technical challenge. And I've been, even before I was doing this commercially, like for clients, I was messing around with the Michelmaker DIY pick and place machine just because it's a really fun, challenging project. I wanted to be able to build a system that would allow me to assemble boards in a semi-automated way. And I learned a huge amount by doing that. But there are also, from a commercial point of view, there are also other reasons to do it. Yes, you can get boards assembled in China, and I do. So there are factories that I use over there for bulk production of boards. But there are longer lead times. And now, me doing it here is way more expensive than going to get it done in China. But the benefit of doing it here is that I can have very rapid turnaround. So I can have a client who says, can you give me a dozen boards by tomorrow? And it's achievable, it's possible.
Also thinking though, John, going back in history, I remember sitting in history class re-spoking a bike wheel and then playing with little old Mazdas. Remember the little super deluxe coupe thing that you got?
Oh yeah.
The projects, even back at high school, there's elements of that throughout all of this. And I think that's important to remember where the roots are. And that's largely why you're doing this, because you really haven't ever grown up.
That's true.
Please don't.
It's the DIY ethos, and I'm basically still a kid playing with Lego. That's what it comes down to. So it's
You
just,
start a new Super Lego.
Yeah.
stream.
Super Lego house.
it's just that the Lego is different. Now
Do you want
it's,
to go upstairs yet, or
Yeah,
out the side, or something?
yeah, we'll go
Show
out
people
and-
the barbecue that's cold.
sure.
Johan Gunnison, hopefully I said that right.
Mm-hmm.
Super nice working space, John.
Thank you.
Alistair,
The grip
Alistair.
does. I don't have a person that does grips, and when you don't grip this, it goes.
Ooh, it moves.
I did that. Sorry, guys.
All right.
Alistair suggested turning the rack upside down so that the door problem is solved.
Oh, thanks, Alistair. Great idea.
Remount it like a fridge door.
No, I've looked. The
Tried to do that the other day. And
yeah.
found she didn't have all the physical structure she needs, so she's got to find some different.
yeah, a lot of racks are specifically designed so that you can reverse the hinges and mount them either way. But in this particular one was designed to be one way only. Yeah, so this is the front area where the barbecue is going to be a little bit later today. As you can see, street wind you can probably hear in the microphone. So we've got a truck size roller door here, which is kind of nice. Oh, someone's over there with a weed, with a blower, cleaning up.
We're doing outdoor.
Oh yeah, yep. We probably shouldn't go too far away. We might lose coverage to the receiver. And over the last couple of weeks, my son and my nephew have been working on their cars in here. So that's one of the reasons this area is so open.
What sort of car work did you need to do?
Replace the springs, replace the front bumpers on both cars.
Chasing a bloke for a pair of struts with that Corolla around for quite some time.
Yep. Just before we go any further, now this whole section here is all very much in a state of flux, and I'm not really quite sure the best way to do it. I keep going backwards and forwards on how to arrange this. My goal is to keep the front part clear enough that it can be used for working on cars and just a general workspace. So if we need physical space to do things, we can put benches in there or whatever needs to be done. And we've got the access from the road with the big roller door, so you can bring stuff in and forklift it in or whatever is necessary. And
It's just gone 11.
okay.
By the way.
And above us you can see the mezzanine, so storage up there. But then what happens in the back here, I want two areas. One is I want an exercise area, and you can see I've got a whole lot of mats here. I just bought these on Facebook Marketplace. This top one is a bit of a mess because it had things on it, but it's protecting everything else. So there's going to be an area here which is matted for boxing and that sort of thing.
Overhead room for swinging cats and things, I suppose. When
Yeah.
you're doing exercise, you can just swing around a bit.
Yeah, use these for doing chin-ups.
We have a few more
A few more questions.
comments relating to in there. So, Dodgy Brothers says, I see you modelled your rack layout on your house switchboard.
The rack layout in the house switchboard.
Yeah, modelled your
Oh, I've modelled it.
modelled your rack layout
Yeah,
on your house switchboard.
it's kind of similar.
Stephen W says, there's a level of speed you can't get if you were getting all your assembly done in China, even on a rush where you skip the queue. It's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think Mitchell was saying in reference to the rack and changing the door over, nothing an angle grinder and a welder can't fix.
That's true. Yep.
The Lane says, I am American and I will pay more for US made.
Good point.
And Dodgy Brothers says, wasn't something fumey or funny, I don't know what, slotted for the front, something like welding or painting? Maybe fumey is
Oh,
what he
fumey.
meant.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Yes. So I do things like spray boards with conformal coating to weatherproof them. And I've got a big box that I do that in. So I hang the boards in it and then spray them and run the fume extraction so that the fumes aren't too bad. So there needs to be a space to do that as well, probably down in that front area. And then,
How would the battery on this be going, do you reckon? I can't see anything.
I'm not sure. It's probably okay, but we're probably starting to push the battery life. But I've got all these rack mount cases and things. If anybody wants to buy for some nominal price. Rack mount enclosures, all these things left over. And there's an entire rack here as well. There's a whole 44 unit server rack sitting there that I need to get rid of. Then down in this area is where I'm going to be setting up for mechanical work. And I've kind of started moving things into the right place, but nothing is properly organized yet. My goal is to have a mechanical workspace, like a fixed bench, my little baby CNC machine down in this area, and I want to build an enclosure for that so that it cuts down the noise a little bit and also keeps all of the swarf and things enclosed. Drill press, so the CNC machine will probably come over here somewhere. But this is the space that I want to use when I want to just fabricate brackets or, you know, make stuff, do mechanical things. This has got to go somewhere. My sister just brought this over. She grabbed it off a hard rubbish collection, and the person that put it out said it still works fine. So, little baby freezer. It's actually a freezer, not a fridge.
That's a walk-in rack.
It is. That rack is huge.
Yeah,
check this out. You can do the quick change. So this rack is huge. How many units is it? 45 units. Yeah, so it's very big for a server rack. This is one of the server racks from IVT. Okay, so watching our heads. Well, Chip will have to watch his head because he's enormous.
Alistair was asking if someone can ping him the barbecue details.
Oh, okay.
I think he would find that in Discord, yes?
Yes. I don't know if he's on Discord though. So it's going to be a little bit of a seasick thing as you get up the steps there. Yeah. All right, so where I'm standing right now is directly above the back of the clean room. We're on top of the... Oh! Chip is really going to have to watch his head through this section.
There's lots of things.
Yes.
That's my normal head height.
That's Chip's view of the world, looking down. So this, where Chip is right now, where the camera is right now, is just through the dividing wall between my section and Lachlan's section. So right now the camera is in Lachlan's back part of the mezzanine, and you can see that we're in the process of building a wall here, and just with a kind of a door opening. And
show people the stairwell.
Yep. So the stairs come up from there. At the moment you can see right through this wall, but that will all have plaster on it. And then this is a packing area for when I'm sending out orders for Superhouse and Freetronics products. Got packing tape here and lots of spare packing tape and boxes and all the different things. So whatever I need for packing orders is right here. There's a set of scales which is down on the floor at the moment, but normally that's sitting up here. And just around this side, don't move too fast, you'll make everybody seasick. And over this side is stock.
It's set up like if you go to like Super Cheap Auto and order.
Yeah, probably.
They have to go.
Yeah, and they go at the back, and everything is stored on racks like this. So, you know, pie screen, whatever. All of the different products are sitting up here.
Now this is a standard 1970s era factory.
Yes.
Except we're that close to the actual insulation.
Yeah, this is
like we're right up there.
Yeah. It's been divided into two levels because we're on top of the mezzanine. We're on the top of the clean room.
We have a few more comments.
Yes.
Andrew Ruthven says, when I used to take my kids into server rooms, they'd call the racks showers.
Showers, right.
Rayburn says, you can use the rack for a scream room when it gets too much. Cone of silence. Alistair said he'll hit you up on Facebook for the details later.
Okay.
Mr. Fix-It is finally caught up and watching in real time, so welcome.
Okay.
Welcome back to the stream, Mr.
Which means
Fix-It.
the speed has gone down, yeah.
Mr. Fix-It also said you have really made a lot of progress with your new shop.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Fix-It.
Well, there's a lot of little things that you don't get to see until you really look closely.
Yep.
Yeah. Every little thing is time and work. It's taken effort to get everything set up.
You must be fairly tireless, John.
Yeah, reasonably. But yeah, every little thing. For example, putting head protection stuff on these. That was a trip to Kmart to buy these and then cut them and stick them on. So it's yeah, it's a pool noodle. It's the sort of thing that you don't really notice, but just putting these on represents time. Yeah, it's right at nose height.
It's one of those times where I'm happy about being short.
Yeah, so backing up more, just general storage in this area at the moment. This has all got to be sorted out a bit. Lots of car parts here. Oh look, you can see the front of Tom's car. So he just replaced this with an aftermarket.
You don't have any 13Bs up here.
No.
You have to go one.
I don't have any rotaries
shop
here.
Next door, and it says number 13B.
Yes, that would be the place to
There
be.
should a rotary builder.
Yeah, and these boxes are full of the Z-Wave powerboard
These are
kits.
stolen TVs, aren't they?
And yeah, so these are the stolen TVs. Yeah, the old CRT style TVs. And when we were putting them up here, I kind of just arranged it into a box fort. So I started
Box
using
fort.
the boxes as structure and made a wall. And
I need to make
Mazes
some
at the
turrets.
factory. When we were working at Thomas Display Systems, I think they used to call themselves, we had...
you might need to be
large
closer to the
shipments.
microphone.
Yeah, we had large shipments of computer monitors coming because we were doing lots of processing of them, and thousands of them. And so we'd build structures in under there, and the boss cracked
Yeah.
the shits when he found out there was a big void in there. Because he'd go and regularly count the number of boxes to keep a tab on things.
Yeah.
We had hundreds of them missing from inside. We had a little tea room inside the...
Yeah, you couldn't do an XYZ multiplication to get the number of boxes there.
Yeah, crazy times.
Yeah. So this is just like a little lounge room, essentially.
It's the timeout room.
It's the timeout room, yeah.
And it probably serves as a green room and...
Yeah. So I come and crash out here on the couch sometimes and play the only game ever, The Last of Us or whatever.
I've never played it.
You've never played it?
Never
Okay.
seen any of the documentaries or movies or
Okay.
discussions about it. Really don't know what The Last of Us is about. Motorsport
And
Park is open again.
yes, Motorsport Park is open. And just over here is the top of the cabling that comes out of the server rack. I've got to build proper walls through here and move these boxes out.
Get the camera working.
Yeah. So I've only just started doing this. You can see the top of the Dexian racking coming up to there. Some of the racking comes up much higher, but these particular ones, these ones are actually been cut off. They came from somewhere, they're second hand anyway. That was the height they came. So I've been using timber to start building up a frame and take the
So the
wall
ones that
up
are
closer.
immediately behind you, they standard height.
Yeah, this one's been cut as well.
Oh wow. So
Yeah, they come in different lengths, but yeah, and this one's actually been made up out of a couple of sections with
but
joiners.
that clearly would not have fitted there, just the structure of the building.
Yeah,
This isn't part of the structure, this is just a wire carrier.
I think it is part of the structure. It's a
tension.
spacer between the beams. Yeah. And out there, don't follow, but just out here you can see I've got a few sheets of timber just stuck across the Dexian board. So what I need to do is put purlins along those beams and then put floor sheeting down. So all of that area is going to be sheeted out as well.
Presently not built to code.
No, this is just kind of balancing here. But that will all be sheeted out and it's going to almost double the floor space of the mezzanine again. It just
So should
over
we
that
say,
side.
disclaimer,
So
do
more
not
storage.
try this at home. John is a trained actor.
Acrobat.
But I'm
Acrobat, yes.
Where are you going to make the door then?
down the other side.
You could have two stairwells opposing each other, I suppose. It wastes
Potentially.
Space,
Yeah.
but grand entrance stairwell.
Do you have a few more comments?
Okay.
Mitchell R says short people for the win.
Oh, sorry.
Bless you.
Mitchell says.
Mitchell says short people for the win because I made a comment about being short and being thankful for it. Michael Wise says it's Flynn's upstairs lounge room from Tron.
Right.
Stephen W says John doesn't have enough free time to own a rotary. Probably in regards to that.
Yeah, not anymore.
And Dodgy Brother said, or probably enough money.
Something that exists in your childhood. I hope that's something you can get back
In the
to
future.
at some stage,
Yeah, well, I was sad when I sold my RX-8. That was a fun car. But what I would really like to do, I don't know, this sounds like sacrilege, but I've been thinking it would be fun to do an EV conversion on an RX-8.
There's a lot of people doing it.
That would be cool.
I've seen a few.
That would
Yeah.
be really
The thing
cool.
is that sadly end up quite a lot quicker if
Yeah.
you do it right.
Yeah.
Would that be sad? I don't think
Well,
that would be sad.
Yeah, for an RX-8 or an RX-7, you've got to have that just really long wind up. It's like a big rubber band. It's kind of, it harps back to the old school days of.
It's the sound
This-
as well,
this
and
is
the
where you-
reviness.
You put your expertise in and you match the sound with the speaker.
Well, people don't realise electric cars do actually make a lot of sounds. It's
Yeah,
just that
they
they're
do.
fairly quiet and subtle, but some of the sounds electric cars make can be better than just about anything. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I'm a petrol head, but some of the sounds that electric cars can make are pretty horny.
Big
They
beep.
can be.
Alistair's asking if you still have your chip implant.
I do.
Yes.
It is
This
right
morning
here.
I watched him open the door with it.
It's here, just directly under the tattoo. So that that rune is directly over the location of the implant. Okay, what else is there to see? I think we've largely been around the entire place. What is the time? 11:16.
Yeah, I don't imagine the battery on this is going to last much longer.
No. So maybe we should go back down.
Alistair says, if I can make it to the barbecue, I'll have the Performance X with me if anyone wants to feel a full throttle launch.
Oh, nice.
He's got a train engine. Now this is where I've got to be extra careful.
Yeah, got to be careful coming down here.
Beam is way.
And there is no handrail on this now, so it is not made to.
Again, don't try that at home. Disclaimer.
I know, walking into the light.
Yes. Halo. Yeah, so this is the barbecue area
We're
where,
ready for a barbecue. We just need the stream to finish and for
and for people to arrive. Yeah, got some drinks on ice. I've got sausages and things in the fridge, and loaves of bread, snacks, all sorts of stuff.
We brought some bread for home, but we can donate some if we need to. It's that nice,
Yeah.
nice whatever it is. I guess the light stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm probably being too quiet.
Gavin says, max headroom sign required.
On the beam as you go down the steps.
Max
Yep.
headroom,
Yeah.
1.8 metres.
Again,
I need a,
thankful for
I
being
need a photo
short
of a duck.
person. Photo of a duck, yes.
Photo of a duck.
Imogen can provide many real ducks.
Okay.
There's even
A
one in the
real
car.
duck.
Oh, she's got little plastic ducks all over the place.
And now I own a 3D printer.
Mum spent about 10 minutes carrying on about the duck, the tiny little duck that Imogen stuck on and set on the dash. So let's get back to the stream. eh?
Yeah, so the final, okay, tying back to something I was saying before. Earlier I showed you all those parts drawers that are sitting on the floor in the clean room. This rack here with all of these boxes is not ultimately what is going to be here. Because one thing that I'm seriously missing at the moment is a whiteboard. In my old lab, I had that really big whiteboard that I used to use all the time just for jotting quick stuff down, making lists of things. So I need a whiteboard. I've been using the glass wall, but that's not
How
ideal.
much headspace have you got above the board, Steve?
Quite a bit,
Because
like
you can get...
nearly a metre.
That fellow I used to live with, Ryan, used to install screens and things, and some of them pop down, they'd come down like that, or come down, depending on how much room you got. Automated systems, I mean, they're moderately expensive, but that's
Yeah.
mostly because they're pre-created, whereas if you copied or emulated what they do, you could probably build something fairly cheap that just pops out of the ceiling. and then you press a button, it goes away again.
Are you talking about for a screen or a whiteboard?
Whiteboards.
Oh, a whiteboard.
It's whiteboards and screens.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be as robust as they used to be because you're not drawing directly on them a lot of the time nowadays.
Yep. So I put this here as a temporary barrier to enclose this area, but this will all be taken away, and then I'm going to build a wall continuing this line. So this wall is going to continue to approximately where the end of the rack is.
Kind of a shame that you'll lose access
And
to
then-
both sides, although you probably
Yeah.
don't use it very often.
But it will be a blank wall on that side, and then on this side it's going to be the black drawers and a whiteboard is the plan. So probably a big whiteboard here, or maybe the whiteboard on that side and the drawers this side, I'm not sure. Yeah, because at the moment if I want to go and grab parts that are in those drawers, I've got to go into the clean room to get it. And that breaks the whole bullseye principle of the things that you access frequently being close to you. A lot of this stuff, this is just general storage boxes for most of it. These are things that really should be on racks out in the other room. So
This doesn't
these
match
will end up
your-
moving.
This doesn't match your...
Yeah, the
layering.
concentric rings layering approach. Yeah, so
We
this will
have
end up
a few
being...
more comments.
Yeah.
Sorry. WIVM says 2:17 a.m. here. It's probably a bit later than that now, but too interesting to go to bed. Stephen W says a glass wall works well if you stick something white on the back side.
That's true, yes.
Alistair said, should I bring along a bunch of MR16 transformers and fittings if anyone wants them?
Yeah, you could bring them along and see if anybody's interested.
And Andrew Ruthven says, stick a whiteboard on both sides. The door side, one is for client meetings.
That's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that. Thanks, Andrew.
Brainstorming.
Yes. Yeah, so internal notes on this side and like a presentation style whiteboard on the other side.
You could put a projector up there too.
Yeah, put a projector on the far side aiming at that wall. Yeah, otherwise it'd just be a big blank wall. I was thinking of sticking artwork or PCBs or something on it, but putting a whiteboard on that side definitely makes sense. I think we're done. I think we've been everywhere. We've done the big loop all the way around. Which means that it's probably time for me to take a sip of this coffee again, which Imi made an hour and a half ago, so it'll be cold.
Iced coffee.
Yeah, it's in that transition state. It's no longer hot coffee and it's not quite iced coffee. It's just room temperature coffee. Okay, so I'm going to hit this button, switch back to this camera, and we are back to our normal arrangement. And my computer has gone to sleep. Wake up, computer. Wake up.
How does it keep doing the stream when it's fully asleep?
Oh, the computer isn't doing the stream. The stream is
System
coming off the
connected.
ATM.
Activating the super house.
Oh,
Squirrel.
that's why that wouldn't have been saying anything for a while. It would have
Yes.
stopped because my computer had gone to sleep.
Now, shall I just forget about this? You're going to just switch away from the camera and you can go to sleep and turn off. the
Yeah,
other
you can
one.
just let that one go to sleep. Okay, so Alistair said just pop the coffee in the reflow oven.
I wonder if you could air fry coffee.
Air fry?
Might give it a sort of crustiness about.
Yeah, James asked, do I have a reflow oven profile for coffee warming? No, I don't. There is a bake profile in the Reflow Master Pro that I use for, well, there are a couple of different profiles. One I use for 3D printer filament, and there's another one that I use for drying boards after I've done them in the ultrasonic cleaner and then rinse them off. Michael says, I suspect air fried coffee equals shattered mug. Gavin says, so we're back to officially weird. Right, so we are now back into our normal weird state instead of the unusual
I
weird
don't
state.
think our brains are in normal mode yet. We've just sat down and we're all just going,
Yeah, I know.
Glad
It
to be
feels
of
like,
service.
because we've just gone back to this sitting here, it feels like the end of the stream.
it's sort of a reset, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a reset, even though we've got another half hour to go. Oh, okay. Alistair says you can give ChatGPT the volume of liquid, belt speed, distance, etc., and get a starting point for a profile. Yeah, how much energy is it going to take over how long to get it up to the right temperature? So, talk to me, people.
I think John's broken.
I think I am broken. Oh, yeah, Dodgy said if only there was a device to reheat lukewarm coffee. If only. Yeah, someone should invent that. Someone go back to World War II and try to find an alternative use for a radar system.
Aaron Knox said, how did the OpenKO board come along, John? Did you get it working?
I haven't looked at it recently, Aaron. It was sitting on my bench. In fact, I think it is sitting on my bench. It is. It's right here. It's one of the boards that got sort of pushed towards the back of the bench because I was working on other things. But now that we are just in the process of starting to commission the other machine, it has just gone up in priority, and I really need to get this working. So one of the reasons that I've just started pushing to get that second machine up and running is that I've made an arrangement with one of my clients that I'm going to dedicate that machine to his projects, and it's going to be loaded with parts that are only used for his project. So basically it's going to be a customer specific machine, and that way we can do things like have full trackability of all of the parts that go onto his boards. We'll know that all of his boards were assembled with the parts that are on the reels that are in that machine, and so we have full traceability of the provenance of the parts, etc. And yes, I know that could be done with a shared machine, but this is just it's kind of a quality critical arrangement, and so this is what we've decided to do. And because I've got the machine sitting there, I might as well do it. It means I'm going to have a lot of parts duplicated because all of the common stuff will be like 1K resistors, 10K resistors, those are in everything. I'm going to have feeders for those in both of the machines, all of the overlap parts. But yeah, I think it'll be worth it. It'll also mean that we can be running boards for him at the same time as running boards for someone else.
Gavin says solder braid's not working.
So,
the last comment, want to fit new headers.
Want to fit new headers, what is the best way to clean out a hole? Solder braid is not working. Okay, so usually when solder braid is not working, desoldering station, pull the tracks. Okay, usually when solder braid is not working, it means you don't have enough solder. That sounds counterintuitive, but the way solder braid works is by...
Aaron Knox said, is the PC currently running the KO destined for the rack?
The PC... No, that one is probably going to stay there, but I'll need to get a new PC for the other machine. So solder braid works by capillary action. When you have a whole lot of fibers that are close together, so the braid itself is woven fibers of metal. When they're close together, it's the same way that a wick works. If you put a wick into water, the water will tend to travel along it because the capillary action draws the liquid along the wick. Solder braid is basically a wick for solder. So when you have if you have a track that is, or a through-hole pad, for example, that is mostly clear, and you want to get that final little bit out, if you put the solder braid on it and then apply heat, you may find that you just can't get it out. And that's because you're not getting the capillary action, which is drawing the solder up out of the hole. So usually in that situation, what I do is add more solder, like deliberately just clog the hole up more, which also has the effect of adding more flux because there's usually flux in the solder. You can add flux manually as well yourself, of course, if you've got a syringe of flux. Just squirt a little bit of extra in there, and then go back with the solder braid, and then the capillary action should draw out all of the solder. You need to get it all sort of kind of in one go. The other thing is that solder will tend to flow towards heat, And so what you want is a heat differential. So what you may find is that if you have been trying to clean out a pad, the pad itself will already be hot and the solder that's in it is hot. And then when you add the solder braid and you put the soldering iron on it, the temperature inside the pad is basically the same as the temperature of the solder braid. So it doesn't get that temperature differential. And so often it can help to let the joint cool down as well. So have the board cool down a little bit, then put solder braid on it and apply heat, and the solder will tend to run towards the heat. I don't actually know the physics of why that works, but somehow it does.
Similar to osmosis. Perhaps.
Similar to osmosis, yeah. So there is some mechanical property of the way the solder works that it will tend to move in the direction of heat.
Ivan used to nearly always have a can of freeze gas in his other hand.
Yep.
And in that situation, you just go, and then it would suddenly cool down the circuit.
Yep.
You know, I mean, he'd aim it at the bit he needed to wick away from.
Yeah. Oh, Michael says surface tension. Yeah. Oh, Alistair said there's a powered heated solder sucker you can get from China, which is awesome for through-hole rework. Yeah, I've got a solder.
So it's Wonderwall forces, whatever it's called.
Van der Waals force.
I can never remember how to pronounce that one.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, that's what's driving the surface tension.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's a weird one to pronounce. I think it's spelled as a W, but I think you pronounce it kind of like a soft V.
German
So it's like a Van der Waals force, something like that. Yeah, Stephen says I have a Hacko FR301 desoldering gun, but it's a lot of dollars for only occasional use. Yeah, I've got a couple of desoldering guns. I've got a reasonably cheap one, but I've also got a very expensive one. It's very old. It's an old German-made system, I think. It was supposed to be worth like $3,000. And it's currently in storage, sitting in a shelf upstairs because I just never even use it. And it's physically really big, like the base for it is enormous. And it's quite deep. It's got a really big transformer in it and a big vacuum pump and all of that sort of thing. So it's like one of those top shelf, good quality desoldering systems. But I found that it took up so much space. Once again, this comes down to the bullseye principle. It took up so much space right on the bench where it's critical to me for a very minimal benefit that it just wasn't worth having it sitting right here on the bench. So it ended up going off into storage, and I just used solder braid and a prayer.
It's the sort of thing that you'd be more likely to want to set up on a separate bench setup that you use when you're dedicating doing a lot of soldering.
That's right, on a specific assembly bench or a rework bench. Yeah, definitely. Aaron says, so have you got a list of automations you'd like to get set up in the lab? I don't know. I already have a bunch. When you say automations, Aaron, are you talking about collections of commands to turn things on and off, or are you talking more about actual mechanical automations like conveyor belts and robots and that sort of thing? Because I definitely need to get the conveyor belt running. I get the conveyor set up running through the pick and place machines into the reflow oven.
Yeah, Gavin, that should be fine. Bring whatever you like to the barbecue as long as it's not a military weapon. And if you do, that could be fun to look at.
It could be. Yeah, so Gavin's suggesting bringing one to the barbecue so that we can experiment. Yeah, we can try that. Yes.
We also had a few suggestions on reheating your coffee.
Mm-hmm.
One of them involved pouring it into the toaster upstairs, and the other involved stirring said coffee and toaster with a knife.
Mm-hmm. Reverse Brownian motion, hey?
Make it more efficient heating. There you go.
Infinite improbability drive motion producer.
Oh, hello, Johnny Bergdahl.
Johnny! Welcome, Johnny. Yes, as Aaron says, evening, Mr. Bergdahl.
Bearing in mind we started later, with the hiccup, John. It's looking like we're 1 hour 30 minutes. Means we must be getting close to midday already.
Yeah, it's 11:34, so we got half an hour or so. Looks like a Tinder profile picture. Hey Johnny, you want to go on a date?
Is you swipe right or left?
Yeah, swipe. Yeah, swipe right on me.
Hey, Ron. Oh, I forgot to say hello to Sion earlier, so hello, Sion.
Hey Sion. All right, so having done the tour part, what else do people have questions? I don't even really know where to go from here because I was just thinking I'll show people around and then we'll see what happens. So we have now entered the
out of gear since
random.
we sat down.
Yeah, we have now entered the random conversation part of the
Recline
stream.
some more.
It's a squirrel face.
Johnny, ooh, it looks like Johnny and I are on.
I think I'm just going to go to sleep. If I
Yeah.
start snoring, turn the microphone off.
Cable tie, yes. Cable tie has made it along as well. Kabletti.
Hello, Kabletti.
Kabletti, have you been out on the bike today? It would have been a fantastic day for a quick spin up Mount Dandenong.
Dodgy brothers. We can discuss
dating apps in detail.
Considering it, none of us know which way to swipe, it's probably necessary.
Yeah. Swipe up or swipe down? Andrew said, I quickly scanned over the start. What was the new meter you're going to use? Ah, okay, right. This one. It's an O1 desk meter.
His new Obi-Wan.
Hang on, I'll go to the overhead camera, which is radically out of focus. So I'm going to have to... Oh, and also that that camera was turned off, so you should see my finger pointing at you in just a second. Right there. Saying set the date and time. Okay, I'll adjust the focus on this one.
That's the other mobile camera, is it?
No, it's not really mobile. It's just... Okay, that will jump out of its focus assist moment in a moment. That's Chip and Imi that you can see on there right now. So yeah, XDM 1041 is the model. There we go. So it's a bench meter, and what I've had for many years is, in fact, what we should do is temporarily, let's switch back to the poker phone over here, and
You have to wake it up.
that's all right. It's working.
Still going.
Still going. I don't know why it hasn't gone to sleep mode. All right, bring this down to here. There we go. And I'm going to do my best not to bash this tripod and knock it over because it's in a
nice and narrow.
very precarious state right now. So for many years I've been using this Uni-T multimeter, and I really like these meters. They're great. What you can't see is that it's currently blue tacked onto the bench with some little brackets. What I did was I got 2 steel brackets and I hot glued them onto the back of the multimeter, so they're permanently attached, well, semi-permanently. And then that gives it legs that stick out backwards, and that is attached with blue tack, which means that it'll stay there. It's standing up on its end, but I can turn it on, I can press the button, and it's not going to fall over. And there is a big battery pack sitting behind it, so it's not relying on the internal 9-volt battery, which is normally there. There is a pack of AA batteries making up to 9 volts with a cable going into the back.
It's really cobbled.
So it's really cobbled. So basically this is a handheld meter which I cobbled together into being
Not
a
handheld.
mounted bench meter, but it's not that great. So it's a 22,000 count meter, which is okay. This one is a 55,000 count meter, so better resolution and all of that sort of thing. And it also has some extra functions on here. It's got math functions and stuff.
Are you going to hack into that so we can display it on the screen as well?
I am indeed, because it has USB.
Ah.
So there is support already for this. But what I want to do is make something that pulls the data out of this in the format that this provides it and publishes it in the same format as the UT61E's adapter. and the code that is running on that at the moment, so that it can be shared in the same way. So it can come up as an on-screen. So this will be able to do the on-screen metering on the live stream as well. But it's got a really big, nice display on it, very easy to read. Lots of functions, so it's reasonably cheap. I can't remember how much this was. I think it was a couple of $100, which for a bench meter is really cheap. When you go from a handheld meter to a bench meter, you're typically making a very big jump in price, like adding an extra zero onto the price. For a meter, so if you've got a meter that is like equivalent to this in functions, but in a bench format, for some reason they cost 10 times as much.
So the 55,000 count is a resolution?
Yes. So you get extra, like an extra decimal point of resolution, and yeah. So that is what I'm moving towards. Back to there. Is it going to change? There. Okay. I'm going to move this out of my way just so I can move back over here. Okay, so this is the the O1 XDM 1041. I've actually had this for a long time, like a year and a half. I think I might have even got this before I even moved into the factory here. I had it
here a bit over a year now, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. So this has been sitting around waiting for me to attach it to the bench properly for a long time. And also it's mains powered, it's not battery powered. Anyway, hopefully that answers our cable tie says. I've now added one of those to my list. Cable tie says might be better to do it the other way, slip in a Skippy command layer for the DMM instead. Right. Alistair says the ground line has an optional alligator clip which makes it awesome for probing around on a board for voltage without having to take your eyes off the board. Almost, right, okay, so that was a follow-on from a previous thing. Alistair had said, on the subject of meters, I found a nice cheap pen-style talking multimeter from China to leave in the car. Nice. I've often thought that I want a talking multimeter. I'd really love to be able to maybe have a button on the probe. So what you can be doing is looking at the board, press the button, and just have it say the reading to you. That would be really cool.
I still think back to the old multimeter that I used to carry in the car that had that basic function, that logic function, which beeped when it was over 5 volts. And I'd leave it connected to something on the car. I was working the other end of the car or something, and I could tell when it was working because I hear it go beep on and beep and stop beeping, and you didn't need any other interface. And it wasn't a normal function for multimeters, and I thought, well, why not? It's like dopey. Like, why not do that?
Very handy.
Yeah, but most multimeters that I've come across, I've obviously only had cheap ones, didn't have that sort of function.
Yeah, having some kind of an audible feedback can be really useful sometimes. Which reminds me of a story I heard many, many years ago. I think this might be one of those things that happened like 20 or 30 years ago. It was someone who was doing some diagnostics in it was at a university, trying to trace some cables on network cabling using ping. And so they were doing ping from a desktop computer. So this was back in the days before common, laptops and things were common. So from a desktop computer running a ping and then plugging in different cables in a patch panel to see which one came out, I think was the deal. And if I'm remembering this correctly. And so plugging something in and going back to the computer, which was in another room, and seeing whether it was pinging. And the end result, what he ended up doing was taking the audio output from the computer and feeding it into an amplifier for his hi-fi, like his sound system, and then used a text-to-speech thing so that it would shout the word ping really loudly. So whenever it actually got a response back from ping, it would say ping through the sound system.
I still remember the days when I first came across those cabling guys in a place where I was working, where they'd have that that
Oh, yeah, the tone
the
tracer.
thing that was going wee, 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 wee,
Yeah,
wee,
yeah.
and I thought, what on earth is that sound? And then I realised what was going on. And
Yeah,
they were
very,
looking
very
for
handy.
looking for power and looking for signal and trying to work out which leads were doing which.
Yep, trying to
And
find.
it obviously
match
would have
pairs and
saved a
things.
huge amount of time.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of almost like an oscilloscope. You could really read a lot into what you could hear.
I told you, there's Talkie the Toasty / multimeter. Do you want any measurement? Do you want any measurements? Yes, the toaster. I can make you
Glad to
toast.
be of service. Yeah.
Michael says, I've toned out far too many phone lines in my life. Yeah.
I remember my old schoolmates hooked up the old wind-up phone to the regular phone and blew up the exchange.
Great.
Telecom back in those
Send some
days,
voltage back
Telecom
the
came
other
along to
direction.
investigate what on earth had happened, and everyone denied everything, even though there's all these old wind-up phones everywhere.
It wasn't us.
That was St Kilda Alternative School, so it was a whole bunch of really hyperactive, crazy kids.
All right, so I don't know. What are we doing? What are we talking about? We need a topic. We need something to talk about. Give me something. Okay, so we've got about 15 minutes left. There's not enough time to really get into anything too much, like
Yeah, if you want to
Diagnosing
go
the-
half an hour over, we've got plenty of time.
diagnosing the open KO board. Yeah.
Let's
I
have a talk
really want to
about it.
figure out what.
Let's have a quick analysis of it. Stick it under the microscope or something like that.
The next step with this is, what should I do? I think we did actually get it to the point where we were doing bidirectional communications through it last time. And I had the USB to serial converter plugged in, and we could send messages from one to the other because it was running the serial reflector code. So I am reasonably sure that the serial comms is now working on this interface on the board. But when I plugged it into the KO, it wasn't getting messages through. And that could be for a few reasons. It could be the classic TXRX backwards thing. I've got to check that out.
You haven't got any RF loops or anything weird going on?
No, it shouldn't be. It's just a wired TTL, like 3.3 volt level serial connection. So ground.
So there's no
RX
reflections
TX.
going on.
No, I don't think there are any reflections. And the signal on this should be pretty decent, even compared to what's currently plugged in. Because at the moment there is the long cable that comes out of the KO. It goes to a pluggable screw terminal block, which plugs into this. And at the moment it plugs into a terminal block with some jumper wires that go into a rack 32.
So it's not just extreme packet loss, you've got no signal.
Yeah, I've got no comms at all. Does it work as a wireless USB hub? I don't know, but that is an interesting idea, Wagon Loads. So I hadn't even really thought that through. We've got where's the go for overhead camera? So we've got the ESP32 on there. We've got the USB hub chip, and then we've got two downstream USB ports, and an upstream USB port. So it is possible that we could do something wirelessly. How? I don't know. Hang on, I should put my I should put my phone on silent. Oh, it is on silent. That's my computer making those noises. So, yeah, I don't know, is the short answer, Wagon Loads. I hadn't thought through the implications of having an ESP32 attached to a USB hub and potentially using that as something like a wireless bridge. If the ESP32 is connected to Wi-Fi, so it's on the network, what we would need is some kind of a protocol that allows you to pass USB over Wi-Fi and have a client of some kind on the computer. So if the computer could present perhaps something like a virtual USB port, then you could do USB connections like a pass-through all the way to this port here, communicating through the ESP32. Alistair says Linux kernel has
Aaron
USB
Knox said
over
after you
IP.
got the hub
Sorry.
working and serial reflector working, did you retest your code on the KO machine? I thought you stopped the stream at that point.
Yeah, Aaron, that is a good question. I did stop the stream at that point, but then after the stream, I plugged it into the machine and I wasn't getting anything. Now, there could also be software reasons for that, because the test that I was doing here on the bench with the serial reflector was just with serial reflector code. That wasn't the full firmware for running the OpenKO. All it was doing was opening the USB connection and the serial connection and then passing data between them. So that was a way of validating that the hardware was working and the ESP32 was communicating with the port. We're getting the port connection, but the code is not necessarily the same. But that is an area to investigate. So let's do a quick comparison between the serial reflector code. So I'm just waiting for Arduino IDE to open at the moment. Let's have a look in, while that is opening, I'm going to open the projects directory, IoT, no, I want OpenKO. And I should have the, is it in experiments? No. Can test? No. Maybe I didn't save it in here. Usually I make a copy of things when I'm doing this, but if we come back to here, we've got, it's not in resources, no, firmware. All I've got here is, well, I've got the can test firmware and I've got OpenKO. I'll get this up on screen in a second. Opened on the wrong monitor, there we go. So I want to have a quick look at what's going on with the serial code in here. And get a bit more zoom. So we've got this is critical, except that it's commented out. Here we go, KO RX pin and KO TX pin 2 and 1. So pins 43 and 44 are the pins that were being used on the rack 32. So that's what's currently on the machine. That's how it's configured. And this is because I had screwed up. I'm pretty sure that I had ended up using the wrong pin. So on the next revision of the board, I've got to fix it so that we're using pins 1 and 2 for TX and RX. KRX, KOTX. Alright, then where is the serial port set up? It must be down here, serial comms. Okay, serial baud rate. Okay, serial 2.begin, this is it. KO baud rate. And then we've got TX pin and RX pin. Although I think that's back the other way, isn't it? Isn't it RX pin and then TX pin? Every time I do this, I have to go and look this up. If we do...
Amanda Thompson said, John read my comment above.
Okay, where is this comment? Hang on, I've got to get back to the chat window. Amanda, okay. Oh, okay. That's cool. So Amanda said, I have an update on the presence sensor. The 60 gigahertz presence sensor and the Realtek AI camera MCU arrived this week. I'll begin testing on them soon. Nice. So just as a quick bring people up to speed on that one, Amanda has a project to build a presence sensor which also has a whole lot of environmental sensing built into it. And the purpose of that project is to be able to have something in a room that will tell you if there are people in the room, and ideally to detect things like, so to do things like fall down detection and just general environmental conditions within the room. And so this is all part of testing for that project. And if you're interested in that project, there is a channel dedicated to it on the Superhouse Discord. So go and check that out. I'll do a I will revisit that project at some point. What was I doing? Serial2.begin is P32. Yeah, over the last couple of weeks I haven't been paying any attention to that project. Sorry, Amanda. So I don't know if there has been more discussion going on about it in Discord, but it's a pretty cool thing. ESP32 hardware Serial2 example. Now, what I can't remember is the order of the arguments. Introduction to UART, yeah. Skip. Okay, so we've defined TX and RX pins. So it's RX and then TX. Yes. Now, this could very well be the problem. So if we do RXD, TXD, and here you can see I've got TX pin and then RX pin, and it's the other way around. Now, the danger here, what I'm doing is I'm messing around with this code. This OpenKO code is what is currently running the live machine with the Rack32, and yes, I know Git can save me, but I'm I'm being a little bit hesitant about just making radical changes. So I may need to reflash the existing machine. I can't afford to be without a functioning machine, so I'm going to do this. This is a kind of dodgy way to do it, and another comment on here, and I'm going to say Rack32 on there, just to remind myself. So this is the line that is active, because what might well be happening if we come into config here.
Steve the Squirrel says, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the stream. Smiley face.
Thanks, Steve. So,
Still enjoying it.
so what may well be happening in here could be that I have been using TX and RX backwards this whole time. So it could be that 44 is actually the RX pin and 43 is the TX pin on the Rack32 setup that I've got running, and I've been connecting them backwards. So
if it allowed a bit of crosstalk between the two, it probably wouldn't matter.
yeah, it'd just end up talking to itself. So this is, yeah. So what could well happen here is if I change 2 and 1. Let's try opening Fusion, and we'll see what's going on with that. I just want to see how I've got this labeled in terms of TX and RX, because the thing is that going all the way back to when I originally got this set up and running with the Rack32, I may have had it backwards in my head what the pin connections are.
said, well, the good thing about that age-old problem is that you have 50-50 chance of getting it right the first time.
Yeah, just like plugging in a USB
50%
connector.
chance of getting it wrong the first time.
Yeah, so what may have happened is that I was messing around with different pins when I was using the Rack32, and at some point I just got into a combination of, so I had this, so I had it defined as TX pin and then RX pin, and then I defined this and it worked, and it may well have been backwards the first time, and I just assumed that it was correct, when in fact 44 is RX and 43 is TX. So if I change this, I then also have to change this, and my understanding of which pin is which on the KO may be broken. So keeping track of all of this in my head when I haven't looked at it, like I might go weeks without looking at this and knowing which one is which. That's the tricky thing. So that's why I'm being hesitant about just jumping in and making changes, and that's why I'm leaving this note to myself in here. So I've got serial 2 defined here the way I was using it incorrectly. So if I use that line with these pins, it'll probably work. Okay, so Fusion has opened. I'm going to have a look at, where is it? Superhouse, OpenKO. I'll bring this up into your field of view in just a jiffy. All right. Come on, finish opening. No, There, that'll do. Maximize, that's what I was trying to do. Now, where is TX and RX on here?
Alastair De Silva says I'll hit like if John says, smash that like button. Tears of joy.
All right, smash that like button. You got to do it now. No, I didn't do the whole thing though. I should have said, smash that like button,
Like and
subscribe,
subscribe,
like,
yeah.
subscribe, and click the bell icon so that you get notifications. And also leave a comment for the engagement algorithm.
The other thing that you can do is save the streams on a playlist, which I always do.
Okay.
So I've got a Superhouse playlist, and of course that just helps the algorithm too.
Oh, nice. That's a good tip. Yeah, so can TX, can RX. Here we go. 43 and 44. This is how I did have it set up. And TXD 43, but that didn't, this had some problems. There was a reason that I ended up going away from this and using 1 and 2 instead. So this schematic that you can see here is not how the prototype is currently set up. Right now, IO1 and IO2 are being used as TX and RX. And that's been patched on the board somewhere. There, those orange patch wires, the pins up in the top right here are from IO1 and IO2. So this connection is now going to IO1 and IO2. Yeah, my brain is fading and I need to be okay for this barbecue, so I don't think I'm going to look much more at this. I really want to look at this though because I want to get this machine running, and this board is bugging me that this board has been sitting there in a nearly working state for weeks and weeks and weeks now. But I think what I need to do is do this pin swap and just check that on the machine, because it may well communicate now. This might be all it took to make it work. So I am going to, you couldn't even see it. Yeah, that, oops, there, that pin swap might be all it takes to get it to work instead of that. So, I'm going to wrap it up. I feel like I'm talked out, particularly after doing a tour today, and now I've got quite a few hours of many people. So,
Just make sure you spend a lot of time sitting down, John.
Yeah, and also I haven't had breakfast yet, so I need that's probably why I'm partly fading as well. I've had about half of the coffee that Imi made for me earlier, and I feel like I need a rest.
Yep, that is not enough caffeine. Not by a long shot.
Yeah. Alistair says TX RX must always be labelled from the device's point of view. Yeah. Yeah, I've talked about this before, and my preference for putting arrows on things as well, and adding I and O for in and out to be really unambiguous about it. I can't remember if I did that on this board. Let's see. Oh, I used the I and, no, not that camera, that one. I used TXO to signify TX out and RXI to signify RX in. So that is showing that it is from the perspective of the board. This is RX in to this adapter board, which will be the TX pin on the KO. So, yeah. How is it that TX and RX still screw us up every
Imogen
single
Ann
time?
said Peter is hangry.
You could have said it out loud. You could
I could have, but that's funnier.
It is funnier. Okay,
Really quite sad.
so I'm going to wrap it up and go and finish setting up for the barbecue.
Oh dear.
Thanks everyone for coming along, and thank you for coming for a little tour through the workspace. I hope it was interesting, And if people have ideas about things like how I could improve my organisation and suggestions about bench setup and those sorts of things,
Can't do it.
please let me know. Now there was someone I can't remember who. Someone wanted the address for the barbecue.
That was Alistair.
Alistair.
Yep.
Okay. Johnny says no. Always name them MCU RX and MCU TX so you know what side is what. Yep. Cable tie can't make the barbecue.
Oh. Disappoint. See you next
Disappoint.
time, anyway.
Yeah.
See you in a month's time, eh, Cabletti?
Yes, maybe next month, Gilberti. So whoever it was that needed the details, please let me know somehow. I don't know. DM me on Facebook or something.
They're probably heading this way and
Yeah.
can't respond.
Yes. Okay. Doing a construction project today, cable tie. Good luck. I hope that goes well. What date next month? It'll be the second Sunday of December, which means, I'm just looking at my calendar now, second Sunday of December is the 10th of December. Will be the next barbecue. All right.
The last one is
And Johnny is going to come from Sweden for the day. Ooh. I'd like to date a hot Swede.
You will be having to come back into re-entry from orbit to get here in time. The street might not be quite long enough for him to have his Learjet.
No. We'll need a bigger runway for the Learjet.
We might need an X43 or X15 or something to do it in that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Alistair, you sent us a Facebook message. Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. I will check that out and I'll send you the details, Alistair. All right, I'm finally going to hit this end button and get on with the barbecue. So thanks, everybody.
See you all at
And
the
I'll see
barbecue.
some of you like almost now out there at the barbecue.
Bye-bye.
Hooray!